Today I'm going to show you how I cook a roast on a Volcano cook stove using lump charcoal. This video is more about the techniques of managing the stove and less about the actual cooking. Here I have some lump charcoal on top of the Dutch oven and also underneath in the stove. This is a hook I made out of a coat hanger. I use it to handle the hot heat deflector plate because it's hard to pick this up any other way. So you can see it's very simple to make this. You just kind of take a coat hanger and then bend the wire, and then you've got a hook. This makes handling the hot heat deflector plate much easier. This hook will be used in conjunction with a barbecue tong in order to pick up the hot heat deflector plate. It works quite well. Here are the barbecue tongs. I'm going to use these tongs to pick up the burning pieces of lump charcoal. Lump charcoal burns hotter than a briquette. So I'm going to put them underneath the stove here, and the stove is in an outdoor fire pit. It's a steel fire pit so that it will make handling the lump charcoal much easier. The lump charcoal has to be taken on and off the lid of the Dutch oven if you want to check the inside to see how your roast is doing. And that's why I have the Volcano in an outdoor fire pit, so that I can just put the lump charcoal down and have no problems. So the reason the lump charcoal is on top of the Dutch oven lid is because it helps the roast cook from the tops. So I'm getting heat from underneath and also on top, kind of like a regular oven which you might have in your house. It's the same principle. There's a burner on top and a burner underneath. So this is how I move and manage the lump charcoal. Because it's in a fire pit, there's really no risk of anything catching on fire, because the steel contains everything. So I'm picking up the pieces of lump charcoal piece by piece using the tongs and putting them near the base of the stove. I want to check on the roast and see how it's doing. But to do this, of course, the lump charcoal has to be taken off the top, and it's a little bit more complicated than checking on roast in your oven, in your house, because you just open the door of the oven and look in, and then close the door of the oven. Here you have to remove the lump charcoal from the top before you open the lid. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a pocket bellows and I'm just going to blow the ash off a little bit like that, and I'll make sure that there's no risk of any sparks causing a fire. So I make sure that I place my Volcano somewhere where nothing nearby can catch on fire. So now the ash has been blown off the top of the lid, and now I'm going to put the pocket bellows underneath the outdoor fire pit, and I'm going to use a lid lifter to remove the hot lid off of the Dutch oven. This is how I do it. I put the hook in and then I tilt back, and then it's very easy to lift this hot cast iron lid off of the Dutch oven. There's the roast. It's cooking nicely. The roast is on a trivet and there's some water in there, and I put some onions and some salt and pepper on top of the roast, and it is very easy to cook like this because if there's a little bit of water in the bottom, you really can't burn the roast, and the roast should turn out really nice. Now I put the lid back on, and I unhook the lid lifter. See, I'll show you how I do it again. I put it on top. You kind of put the back end on first, and then once it fits on, see, you put the back end on first, and then you can sort of tilt forward, and the lid is in place, and it is nicely sealed so that the Volcano can continue cooking. You can lift it up a little bit and see how the roast is doing inside. It's quite a nice seal. This Dutch oven is very useful, and you can even bake on it, or you can do a roast, or whatever you want. I like to wear welding gloves when I'm handling hot stuff because it just protects my hands. See, I lifted the Volcano off of the heat deflector plate, and now I'm using the hook to remove the heat deflector plate and put it beside the Volcano. This plate is very hot. The propane hole has been plugged using a 3/4 inch threaded pipe with a cap on it. You can cut the pipe to size. And this fixes the hole in the Volcano, and it allows your vents to work better so you can control how much air gets into the stove much better. Here is some lump charcoal. This is what I've used in this case to cook the roast. The typical way of cooking on a Volcano is using briquettes. I tried lump charcoal and it seems to work quite well. Lump charcoal, it burns hotter than briquettes, so you can choose whatever fuel you like to use, or whatever is available. I'm putting a lot of lump charcoal into the Volcano in this case, and it has to be lit on fire again in order for me to get more heat. So I'm really replenishing the fuel in the stove halfway through the cooking process. So now I've put lots of lump charcoal in, and now I'm going to use the pocket bellows to try and get it to start burning. In this case, it doesn't work very well. The lump charcoal starts to smolder a little bit, but I don't get any flame. So I have to try another technique. In this case, I'm using cotton balls coated with petroleum jelly. And you can see from my other videos how I make them. These cotton balls are very handy when lighting stoves. They work really well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the cotton balls and rip them open so that the dry inside is exposed, and the petroleum jelly coated outside is facing down. So I'm really careful that I don't light these on fire accidentally when I'm holding them, because you could get a bad burn. So I just drop them on top of the charcoal, and now I'm going to use a ferro rod and a striker in order to light them. This is the best way to light cotton balls on fire. It's very quick and it works much better than a match. And a ferro rod also works when it's wet. So see, a couple of strikes and they're burning. It's really quick. One ferro rod is the same as having thousands of matches in your pocket. They work great. So now I'm going to use the barbecue tongs, and I'm going to use the tongs to light the unlit cotton ball. So you can see there's a little bit of the cotton ball is on the tongs, and when they start burning they're a little bit sticky, so be careful. Now the cotton balls are really burning well, and I'm going to put the lump charcoal on top of the burning cotton balls because I want the flame to ignite the lump charcoal. I just keep piling it on top, and then over time the lump charcoal is going to catch on fire. And then once it's burning a little bit, I'm going to use the pocket bellows to really get the charcoal burning well. The charcoal has to burn first before you can cook with it. You have to get a bit of a flame going. So I'm piling the lump charcoal on top of the flame, and even some of the other lump charcoal from the lid. And I'm just going to let this burn for a little bit. You can see there's lots of smoke now. And there's a little bit of flame, so the lump charcoal is catching on fire. Now I'm going to use the pocket bellows, and I'm going to blow on the lump charcoal. This is very effective because the added oxygen makes the lump charcoal burn better, and soon you'll get a nice flame coming off of the lump charcoal. So I'm just blowing and blowing wherever I see a little bit of flame or a little bit of lump charcoal which is glowing red. I blow with the pocket bellows. This comes from the expression fanning a flame. So you're just adding oxygen to the fire, more oxygen, and then the fire burns better. It almost looks like you put lighter fluid onto the lump charcoal, but it's just oxygen. So you can see you sometimes get some small sparks, so just be really careful that it doesn't light anything on fire, and watch your hair, because you're blowing and then sometimes you're blowing sparks into the air, so just be careful. See, now I've got some flame. I keep on blowing through the pocket bellows, and I'm getting more and more flame, so that's really what I want. I want the charcoal to burn for a little bit, and then I'm going to put the heat deflector plate on top and the Dutch oven on top, and then it'll just smolder. You'll just have a glowing coal, which is what you want. You don't want the flame, you just want the glowing coal, but you need the flame to get the glowing coals lit. The flame lights the lump charcoal. See, now I've got lots of flame here. I let it burn for a little bit until the edges of the lump charcoal are a little bit white. That indicates that you've got some coal. And I've got a nice flame here, so I can continue cooking the roast. Now I'm going to use the hook, and I'm going to hook through the center hole of the heat deflector plate with the hook, like that. And then I'm going to take the barbecue tongs, and I'm going to steady the plate. So the hook and the tongs together are very effective in managing this plate. See, I can take it off and put it back on again very easily. I'm going to rearrange the coals, spread them out evenly. Now I've got lots of heat. The heat deflector sort of minimizes the heat a little bit, which is fine. And you can also minimize the heat using the vents at the bottom of the Volcano. And if you want, you can put a can lid on top of the heat deflector. That decreases the heat even more. And now I'm going to put on some welding gloves. And I'm going to put the burning pieces of lump charcoal back on top of the lid. This is so I get heat on top of the roast, so the roast is being cooked from the bottom and also from the top, kind of like an oven in your house when you have both burners going, the top and the bottom burner. So the more lump charcoal you put on the top, the better, or the hotter it burns. During windy conditions, you might have to rotate the cast iron lid to get an even cook. The large can lid shuts down more of the holes on the heat deflector plate, which in turn minimizes heat. This white product here is called the Volcano lid, and it turns your Dutch oven into a convection oven. It is even easier than putting coals on top. It just circulates hot air right around the Dutch oven and you get a super even cook. It's so easy. I have welding gloves on, so I can just pick this Volcano lid up and handle it using the gloves. So I put it on top and I make sure that it fits nicely over the Volcano, and that's pretty good. The roast can cook very evenly using this system. I can lift it off with the welding gloves. I wouldn't try this with your bare hands because it would be very hot. Or I can use the hook. The hook works really well. I could also use the barbecue tongs. You hook it off like that and put it beside the Dutch oven, and then you can lift the Dutch oven off and there's no messy coals to deal with. And you take the hook through the center hole, take the barbecue tongs, steady it, or put it back like that. You can also grab the plate from the side, that works even better. Take the hook it through the center hole of the heat deflector plate, and now use the tongs to grab the side of the plate, and you can handle this hot plate very easily. I can spread out the coals again, use the hook and tongs together, and put the plate back on top of the coals, which are very hot. They're much hotter than briquettes. So the heat deflector plate can be quite useful if you don't want it to be very, very hot. Now I take the hook and put the Volcano lid on top of the Dutch oven, and I'm good to go. So that is a very easy way of ensuring that your Dutch oven has even heat, and because you have this lid on top, the wind has very little effect. That's one of the very nice things about a Volcano, is you can cook in the rain and you can cook in the wind, and it doesn't really take that much skill because the coals are enclosed and the top of the stove is covered by the lid. I'm using the hook. Again, I can grab it from the side or hook it from the side. One quick motion and just lift it off. It is so easy. It doesn't take much skill and it's very fast. I like the welding gloves because in case I accidentally touch hot metal, nothing much happens. It just protects my hands and my skin. This is really a great system. Here's the lid lifter. Look, I can check and see how the roast is doing. I've added some beans now towards the end, and it's cooking very nicely. It doesn't take that much skill to do this. I don't have to worry about wind, and I don't really have to worry about rain too much. I can just put the lid lifter on the side of the outdoor fireplace, and it's very accessible. Now I take the hook and put the Volcano lid on top of the Dutch oven. I don't think you're supposed to use this Volcano lid if there's flame, so it works best probably when the briquettes are smoldering. It's good. And if you don't have the bottom adjusted, then it's a bit hard to get the lid on top of the Dutch oven. But because I'm wearing welding gloves, I can touch the hot lid and it doesn't cause me too much problem. So now I'm going to show you how to take the Volcano off and carry it around. It's a little tippy sometimes, so I use the lid lifter in conjunction with the handle. So the lid lifter steadies the lid, which in turn steadies the pot. And then I can easily move it around. I make sure that I carry it a bit away from me, so if I accidentally drop it, it doesn't hurt my feet and land on because it's pretty heavy and hot. You wouldn't want a heavy, hot Dutch oven falling on your feet, so just keep the Dutch oven clear of your feet, and then you can move it around, and there's very little difficulty or issue. I'm using the lid lifter here and the handle like that, and it's perfectly steady. It works really well. This is just a little technique which makes handling the Dutch oven a little bit easier. There we go. And here's another view of the process. So I hook in using the lid lifter, and then I put the handle up, and then it is very steady. The Dutch oven is really steady, and I can move it around easily from one place to another, and the heat from the metal will actually keep your food warm for a long time. So that's how I do it. You can see it's very steady. Welding gloves, I'm using welding gloves, and the lid lifter, and also the handle of the Dutch oven. I'm using all of them together to get a very steady result. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.